Hello everyone. Today we're going to make a 2D shooter with Gamemaker Studio. Let me give you a sample of the game that we're going to create. So here's our player. He shoots in the direction that he's facing and he has to eliminate this enemy, and once he eliminates the enemy, the portal to the next level will appear. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to eliminate that same enemy, and notice that the portal does not appear, but it will appear once all the enemies are clear and we can go on to the next level. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and create a new project. New game. We'll call it 2D shooter. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to make a sprite for the character. If you want to use the sprites that I'm using, I'll leave a link in the description. Let's right click on sprites, create sprite. We're going to call this one SPR player. Let's import that image. So again, if you would like some of the images that I'm using, I will leave a link in the description. So let's use this one, player R. Okay. So we'll call this player R, just so we know that this sprite is facing to the right. And now we have to make every direction. Well, first of all, let's make this center. We'll go middle center. Okay. And now what we want to do, let's duplicate this sprite. Okay. Duplicate it again, and then one more time. Duplicate. So let's open up the next sprite, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna edit this image. So let's click edit image and click on image, and we're gonna, let's say, mirror. Okay, so this will be SPR player L to let us know that this sprite is facing to the left. Okay, let's open up this one. Let's edit this one. Let's go to image. Let's go rotate. This will be down. SPR player D for down. And finally, we need to make up. So let's go edit. Image. Okay. And we'll name this SPR player U for up. Okay. So now we have to create an object that's going to represent our player. So right click on the objects folder, create object. We're going to name this object OBJ player. Okay. And we're going to set it to, let's say, SPR player R. We'll set it to that one. Okay, so let's start scripting. So first, let's click add event, create, and we're going to do visual. Don't ask for this project. Okay. Now, the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to drag out a global variable. We're going to set global variable, and we're going to name this facing direction. And I'm going to show you where we're going to use this. So this is going to be used to get the direction that the player's facing in order to tell the game in which way we want to shoot the bullet. So this is going to be very important. It has to be a global variable because other objects have to access this. So right now we're just initializing it. We're just kind of saying, okay, we're setting a global variable. We're going to call it facing direction. And right now we're just going to give it a value of 0, but later this is going to change. Okay. So now that we have that in the create event, let's do the movement. So we'll go add event, key pressed, and then we'll use the WASD. So let's start with W. Keypad, I'm sorry, letters, W. So when the key is pressed, we want to move up. So let's go to direction. So set direction fixed. So we're going to select up since we're hitting W. but we also have to set the speed. So we're gonna drag out assign variable. We're gonna assign the speed variable, and this is a built-in variable. We're gonna set it to 5. So that's the speed that this player is gonna go. So let's go ahead and test that. We'll open up our room. I'm gonna make my room a little smaller. I'm gonna make it 800 by 600. You don't have to do the same, but I'm gonna work in a smaller room. And we're gonna go ahead and drag that object into the room. And we've only coded the up script, the up movement. So if I hit W, he'll move up, but he won't stop moving. And the sprite doesn't even change direction. Okay? So first of all, what we want to do, let's have him stop when we release the key. Okay? Let's add event key up, and we're going to go with W. Okay? And what do we want when we release the key? We will stop. So we'll set speed to 0. Okay? So let's see if that works. Let's test it. Test it again. And good. As soon as I let it go, he stops. Perfect. So what we want to do, we also want, whenever we press up, we want the direction, we want the sprite to change, and we want to say, okay, we're facing up now. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go back to key press up. Okay, we're gonna go to set sprite, and we want it to be, so we're doing W, so we want to go up, right? And we also want to set that global variable. So let's grab that variable, assign variable. So the name of the variable, remember, it's global dot facing direction, and we want the facing direction, we want to call it up. Okay? And we're going to use this later. Okay? Later we're going to check if we're facing up, shoot up. Okay? So let's test that. And right now, once we move up, the sprite should change. Good. And then later we're gonna see the variable change. Okay. So now we have to do that for all of the keys, W, A, S, and D. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that.
Next one is S. Key press S. Okay. Key press S. We want set direction. We want down. We want the speed to be 5. We want the sprite. Since it's S, we want it down. So SPR player D. And we want to set that global variable. Global. We want to set that global variable. So since it's, what are we doing? S, we want to go down. Okay. Let's keep going. Let's do D. Add event key press D. Where's D? Direction. Right for D. We want the speed to be 5. We want the sprite to be to the right, SPR player R, and we want to change that global variable to right. Okay? Okay, and finally we need to do A. Oh, we did the key press W. Alright, so let's add event. Let's do A. Key press A. Okay. Direction, we want the speed to be 5. We want the sprite to be SPR player L for left, and we're setting that variable, that global variable. What is it, facing direction? So since it's A, we want to be left. Let me make sure the D is right. Okay, good. Now we have to do the key releases for the rest of them. So we did key up on W, key up. So let's do key up on S. Key up on S. Speed will be 0. Oops. D, key up on D. Key up on D. Speed 0.
And finally, key up on A. Key up on A. Speed should be 0. Let's test it out. Perfect. Okay, so let's continue. Now we're going to create a wall to kind of contain the player. So let's go ahead and create that sprite. Create sprite. We'll call this sprite SPR wall. We'll import, and I'm going to use this. So here, I'm not going to center the block sprites. We're going to keep this at top left, and I'll show you why in a moment. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a collision event with this wall, and whenever we collide with this wall, we're going to stop. So let's go back into the player object. We're going to add event, collision. Oops, there's one thing I only made the sprite. I didn't make the object. So let's go ahead and make the object. Create object. We'll call this obj wall. We'll check solid. Okay, this is important. And we'll give it that wall sprite. Now let's go back into the player. Add event, collision with the wall. And we're going to drag out speed 0. So variable, we'll set the speed to 0. Now let's go into our room. Let's make sure we're selected on the instances layer. Okay, we can't drag instances onto the background layer. So if we try it, it's gonna say, hey, you can't do that. Okay, so make sure you're on the instances. Click on the OBJ wall and hold right Alt, and then I should be able to click and kind of like paint over. So if I hold the left mouse button, I should be able to make a border just like this. And notice I'm still holding the Alt button, okay? And this will allow me to quickly put objects on the room. So again, look, I'm holding Alt, letting it go, holding it, letting it go. Oops, let's delete that. So hold Alt and you can paint over. And now let's test to see if the player stops when he hits the wall. Good. Perfect. Okay. Now let's create an enemy. Okay, so let's create the new sprite. Right click, create. Let's go to sprite. We'll call this one SPR enemy. And let's import the image. Enemy. Okay. All right. So now let's look at, first of all, okay, so we have the enemy. Let's center that sprite. Okay, middle center. Let's go into the collision mask and adjust it just a little. Sometimes you'll see that these sprites, they'll get stuck on other sprites. So sometimes what I like to do is put manual here on the collision mask. And I kind of like to extend it just a little bit outside of that line so I won't have too much problems. Okay. So again, I'm just extending the collision mask. So when it'll bounce, it'll get up to here. Sometimes these pixels, they'll kind of get stuck and you won't want that. All right, so let's create that object. OBJ enemy. OBJ enemy. We'll give it that enemy sprite. So we'll click add event, create. And once he's created, we want this enemy to start moving. So let's go set direction fixed. We'll click on left. We have to set that speed. Let's set it to 5 just for an example. Okay. And now we have to have a collision event with the wall because right now if we put him in the room, he'll move, but he won't bounce against the wall. So this is what we'll do. We'll click add event, collision with the OBJ wall. Now this is the only code that we're going to write here. Gamemaker used to have a button that said move bounce all, but they don't anymore. So we're going to have to do it via code. This is the only code that we're going to write in this game. So drag out execute code. You can delete this if you'd like. let's make this here. And you're going to type move bounce all. Oops. Let me write this here so you can see. So move underscore bounce underscore all, open parentheses, false, close parentheses, and a semicolon. That's all you need. Okay. Once you put the player, once you put the enemy in the room, he will bounce against the wall. Okay. Let's go ahead and test that out. So we'll take this enemy, we'll drag him here, and let's test. Perfect. Okay. And so we extended the collision mask a bit just so that this sprite won't get stuck with the wall. All right, so right now let's make the enemy shoot. So let's go ahead and we need to create a sprite for the enemy's bullet. So let's go ahead and create a new sprite, create sprite. We'll call this one SPR underscore E bullet for enemy bullet. And let's import that image, E bullet. Okay, center the sprite, middle center. Okay, let's make an object for that bullet. Right click on objects. Okay, we're gonna call this obj E bullet. So let's go back into the enemy object. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's assign the sprite. Okay. Now let's go back into the enemy object. Open up the create event. We're gonna set alarm. So alarm, set alarm countdown. We're gonna set alarm 0. We'll set this to 40. So this is saying, okay, I want alarm 0. I want it to execute in 40 frames. So whatever I tell alarm 0 to do, you can execute in 40 frames. Let's go and tell them what to do. So back into the enemy object. Here we were just in here. You could even close this to get back. Okay. Now we're still in the enemy object. We're gonna hit add event, alarm 0. So this is what's gonna happen once this alarm executes. So we're gonna drag out create instance. Okay. We're gonna call it E bullet. I'm sorry, yeah, enemy bullet. We're gonna check relative here. And then finally we're gonna drag a set alarm countdown. And we're gonna set it back to 40. So we're gonna have this go execute again. So right now, once that 40 frames go, this instance is gonna be created. Okay, but it's not gonna shoot towards the enemy. It's only gonna keep creating those instances every 40 frames. Now, once that instance is created, we want to tell that instance, okay, go travel to the player, right? So let's open up the object eBullet, add event, create, and we're going to drag out set point direction. Point. Yep. Set point direction. And we're going to call this obj player dot x obj underscore player dot y. Okay. Now this has to be exactly what you named what you want to move towards. So right now I'm moving towards the obj's x position and the obj player's y position. But I need to move at a speed of 5. Let's say speed 5. Okay. And then let's add a collision event with the enemy with the player, so that when it hits the player, it destroys itself. It doesn't just go through them. So we'll destroy instance, and we'll leave it just like that. Let's add another event to destroy itself when it hits the wall. So add event, collision, wall, same thing. Destroy instance. Okay, let's test. Okay, so as you can see, every 40 frames, the enemy is shooting bullets at the player, and when it hits the player or the wall, it destroys itself. So far, so good. All right, let's make a second enemy. And this enemy, we're going to make this one stationary. We're going to have this enemy stay still. So right-click OBJ enemy, click duplicate. Okay, I'll hit right, delete, and we'll call it OBJ enemy 2. Okay, now we have to give this OBJ enemy 2 a different sprite. Let's create that sprite. Create sprite. We'll call this SPR enemy 2. Let's import that enemy. Enemy 2. Okay. Center. Okay. Always center your sprites. The only sprite that I did not center is the block sprite. Oh, and I'll tell you why once we get to the room editor. But make sure you center all your sprites. And then you want to set that OBJ enemy 2. You want to change its sprite. So let's change it to enemy. And we're going to change a few things. We don't want this enemy to move. We want this enemy to be a stationary object. So what we'll do is we'll delete, let's see, we'll delete this, we'll delete this, and I think that's it. Now, let's go into the room. So again, the reason why I don't center block sprites, it's because they fall nicely within the square, and I kind of like that. Okay, and that's the only reason I don't. But you can though; it's no big deal. So now we're gonna put the enemy here. So this enemy should also be shooting at my player, but the only difference is that this guy should not be moving. So let's try that. Perfect. Okay, so we have a moving enemy, we have a stationary enemy. Let's continue. Okay, so now let's make our player shoot. So let's make that sprite first. Right click, create sprite. We're gonna call this one SPR P bullet for player bullet. Import, and let's get that P bullet sprite. Center it, middle center, and let's make an object for that. Create object, OBJ, player, P bullet. All right, so let's go back into our, let's assign the sprite to P bullet, SPR P bullet. Now let's open up our OBJ player. Let's set a variable of ammo, right? So right now we're gonna assign a variable. This is a variable that we're making up. Okay, we're making up this variable ammo, and we're gonna give it a value of 1. Okay, so now we want to shoot every time we press the space bar. So let's press add event, key pressed, we'll say space. We're gonna drag out create instance. We'll call it OBJP bullet. We're gonna check relative here, and we're gonna assign ammo back to 0. Okay, so once we hit space, we'll create that instance of P bullet, and then the ammo is gonna go back to 0, and then later we're gonna have to set that ammo back to 1. So we're gonna drag out set alarm countdown. Keep this one at 40, alarm 0, countdown 40. Okay. Let's hit add event, alarm, alarm 0. And then here we're gonna we're gonna set the variable of ammo back to 1. Okay. Should be it. So again, key press space. We're gonna create that instance. Make sure it's checked relative. And then we're going to assign ammo to 0 so he can't shoot anymore. And then the alarm will reset. And then once that alarm resets, what will happen? Ammo will be 1 again. Okay. Now, again, once we hit space, we're creating that bullet, but again, we're not telling it to go anywhere. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go into the OBJP bullet, add event, create. So now here, we're gonna write a long string of things here. So if variable. So right now we need to determine in which direction we need to travel once we hit space. So we need to check which direction we're facing. So right now we're gonna check if global dot facing direction is equal. Let's say it's equal to up. Okay. We want to start moving up. So let's assign a variable. We'll call it v speed. Now, v speed is a built-in variable, which means vertical speed. And we'll set the v speed to 5. So that means it'll be traveling vertically and the value of 5. Now let's put another one and make sure this if variable looks just like this. Okay, when I drag it, let me show you again. When I drag it, it ends up right under here and it'll come here. Now let's finish the rest. So if global direction is down, well, we want it to start moving down. So v speed would be -5. V speed would be -5. And now we need to do left and right. If variable global dot facing direction is left, then we want the horizontal speed. Okay, sign variable. Let's make this bigger. We want the h speed. So since we're going left, we're going negative. So we'll do -5. And then finally, if global dot facing direction is right, then we want the h speed to be 5. And let's test. Okay. So as you can see, oops, I gotta change the negative, the h speed, rather the vertical speed. So let's fix that. The v speeds are reversed. So let's go back. So here, up should be, whoops, it should be negative. That's right. Up should be -5. Down should be 5. So now it should work correctly. And as you can see, the player shoots in the direction that he's facing. Okay, so right now we don't have any hit points. We don't have any hit points for the player or for the enemy. So let's go ahead and start that. So let's start off with enemy health. So let's go into our enemy, OBJ enemy. Let's open up the create event. It should be here. Okay. Now, oops. Okay, so now let's assign him a variable of let's create that variable, enemy HP. And again, this is a variable that we're making up. and we're gonna set it to 2. So we're saying enemy HP is 2, so 2 shots for him to live, basically. Okay. Now let's add an event, collision, and let's add a collision event with the player bullet. And then we're gonna hit assign variable. We're gonna do enemy HP. So every time the bullet hits the enemy, I want the HP to go down by 1, and you need to check relative. Okay? So if you don't check relative, it's simply going to assign that his enemy HP to -1. So right now he has 2. And if you just leave this without checking relative, you're changing the value to -1. But if you say relative, you want to take this value and you want to add it to the other value. So again, 2 plus -1 is 1. And that's exactly what we want. We want the HP to go -1 each time. Okay? If we don't click relative, it'll just go to -1 and that's it. Okay? Click relative, it'll go by -1 each time. Okay? And then, so we're in the bullet. So right now, we're going to say destroy instance, and we're going to set it to self. Make sure it's self. So right now, when the bullet, oh no, I'm so sorry. Other, set it to other. Because right now we're inside the enemy object. So when the bullet comes in contact with the enemy object, you want that other object to be destroyed. You want the bullet to be destroyed. Okay? But if the enemy HP is at 0 or below 0, you want it to destroy itself. So we need to write if enemy HP, we're going to say is less than or equal to 0, we want it to destroy itself. So we'll go destroy instance, but this time we'll set it to self. Okay, this one's other. This one is self. Okay, we have to do the same thing for obj enemy 2. Okay, so and its create event, we'll assign a variable enemy HP 2, and again you can change this value if you'd like. Add event collision with the player bullet. We want enemy HP to go down by 1 relative. Okay, and destroy the bullet. So destroy other. If it's less than or equal to 1, 0 rather, I want you to destroy yourself. So right now, both the enemies should be destroyed with 2 shots. So that's, oh, that was 1 shot. I think I know why. Oh, sorry. I think I see why. Let me make sure. This should be here. Yep. Let's go back into the enemy. This should be here. So notice it's empty. So right now it's saying if variable HP is less than or equal to, not doing anything. So let's go here. Let's destroy instance, right? Now they should be destroyed with only 2 shots. 1, 2. Perfect. 1, 2. See how you got stuck? We got to set the collision mask, but that's no big deal. All right. So we got that going. Now let's create player health. Okay, so now let's create a new object, and we're going to call this obj controller. And this is going to obj controller. And this is going to hold some information such as the health, the lives, what level it is. And we want to check persistent because we want it to hold the value and we want it to carry it across levels. If you don't check persistent, every time you go to the next level, the player's life and health will reset, and we don't want that. So let's add event, create, and we're going to create some global variables. And again, they have to be global because other objects need to access this information. So let's call health 100, health 100, lives will be 3, and level will be 1. Okay. All right, we made sure that persistent is checked. Now let's go into the OBJ player, add event, step. This basically runs every single frame, and it's gonna check to see if I have enough health, if I go below 0, if I don't have enough lives. So this is basically running at every single frame to see what's going on. So let's drag out an if variable. So if global.health is less than or equal to 0, we want to set global.lives. We want to set it to -1, and we want to make it relative because we want a -1 each time. Again, if we just put -1, it'll set it to -1, and that's not something that we'd like. And we have to reset their health. So global.health, we'll reset it back to 100. And we'll say if another one, we'll say if global.lives, is less than or equal to 0, we'll restart the game. Restart the game. Okay. Now, let's add an event with the collision of the enemy bullet. Add event, collision, e-bullet, and we want to set our health, global.health, we want to set it -10 each time we get hit, and we want the bullet to destroy itself. So make sure it's set to, let's see, make sure it's set to other. Okay. Let's see what we have so far. Make sure everything's working correctly. Okay. A step event. We do have a... Oh, that's what, again, I forgot to do that. I think this is what the problem is. We have to put the controller in the room. I hope that's it. Yeah. Okay, good. So right now, all right, good, good. We just want to make sure there's no errors or anything like that. So the game works. Let's continue. So it's very important to put that OBJ controller in the room because right now we're setting these global variables, and if you don't put it in the room, you're going to get an error because it's not going to find those variables even though they're set. So let's continue. Let's go and draw a health bar. Let's go back into the player. We'll go add event, draw. Okay, so if you have a draw event, you have to have a draw self, or else it won't draw the object. So this is necessary. If you try to run this without this draw self and you have a draw event, it's not even going to draw it, even though you have it in the room. So make sure you put draw self. Let's draw a health bar as well. Draw a health bar. Okay. We're going to call this. So what value are we going to grab? We're going to grab the global.health. And then I'll tell you in a moment what these numbers mean. They're basically the X and Y coordinate of the square or the rectangle that you're going to draw of the rectangle. So the first point is going to be at 32, the first point is going to be at 32.32, and the next point is going to be at 256.50. Hopefully we'll see that better when we open up the room. And let's just set some colors here. We'll say red for this one, black for this one. Let's say yellow and green for this one. Okay. And just so we can see what's going on, let's write caption lives, and we wanna write in how many lives we have. So global.lives, we'll do it at 50 and 50. And we also want to see what level we're on. So we'll say level, we'll say global.level. We'll do this at 5100. And let's see what this gives us. Okay, there we go. So as you can see, let's shoot this guy. And hold on, wait. If I get hit, okay, good. Yeah. So again, the reason why this is getting stuck is just because of collision mask. You want to extend it a little bit so it won't get stuck. All right, cool. So we have player health, we have enemy health. The last thing that we want to do is we want to warp to the next room. We want to make another level, and we want to be able to warp to the next level if all the enemies are clear, or if you clear a certain enemy. And I'm going to show you how to check for that. So let's go ahead and create a new portal. So let's create a new sprite. We'll call this one SPR portal. We'll import, and let's see, sprite portal. Okay. And this portal, I'm gonna put the origin. This doesn't really matter, honestly, but I'm gonna put it at the top right because I want it to end up on the top. You're gonna see it's gonna end up on the top right hand of the screen. So now that we have our sprite, let's create the object. So we'll call this obj portal. We'll give it that portal sprite. Okay. Now open up your enemy object, and we're gonna have to do this. We're gonna have to do this for both. So what we'll do, yeah, let's just do it on this enemy first. Okay. So open up the enemy object and open up the collision event with the player bullet, which is right here. Okay. So let's drag out if variable. So we're gonna write, first we're gonna check what level we are on. If global dot level, if global dot level is equal to 1, okay. And then we're gonna do another check. So right now this will check if we're on level 1. If we're on level 1, it'll continue this check. So we want to drag out if an instances exist. If instance exists. Okay. So we'll write if instance exists, we'll say just for testing, let's do the obj enemy, we'll say not. Okay. Obj enemy not. We're going to drag out a create instance. Okay, so remember, it has to look just like this, not like this. Okay, it has to be on the right side. We want to create the portal. Okay. 770, 32. This is just my preference. This is where I want it to show up when the portal shows up. Again, you don't have to use these numbers, but this is exactly where I want it to show up. So now let's go into the player object. Okay. And we need to add a collision event with that portal. what happens when we collide with that portal. Okay. So when we collide with that portal, we basically want to go to the next room. Not only we want to go to the next room, we want to let that global variable know that it's the next level. So we want to add 1 to that. So let's go to set variable, assign variable, and we want the variable of global.level, we want to add 1 to it. So we'll press 1 and we'll press relative. Okay. So now let's create another room now. So let's create a new room. Let's make it 800 by 600. I'm going to make it a little smaller, 800 by 600. And then we'll put the other player in this room here. And then just with this dude. So just to test, we're going to see. So there's one thing that we do have to do here. So right now, if we go into the code, let's check the code. Let's go into the collision event with that enemy. Okay. So right now we've coded only this enemy. We didn't do any work on the next enemy. We're saying that if it's level 1 and if that enemy does not exist, then we want to create that portal. So let's test that out. Oh, actually, wait, there's one thing that we have. Well, actually, no, I think we could still do it. So we only coded it for this enemy, the airplane. So let's see if that works. So see, so notice that that enemy is gone. The portal appears. Okay, but we want it so that both of these enemies, we want both of the enemies to gone in order for that portal to appear. Okay, so what we'll do is let's go ahead and put this same code right here, in the next in the other enemy. Okay. So we'll say obj enemy 2. Let's just make sure here. All right, so we'll say if variable global dot level is 1, and then instance. Check if instance is there. If instance, we're gonna call it, we'll say objects, we'll say the enemy, and we're gonna have both of them. So if instance exists, nope, oops. We want both of them. So here we'll say enemy 2 and then create portal. Okay. Portal at 770, 32. Okay, so right now we have to destroy both of them in order for the portal to exist. Let's put that code back. Let's put it in the other enemy. So notice we only have this enemy. We want both the enemies. So what is it? Instance. Check if instance exists. Okay, let's adjust this a little. Perfect. Okay, so now obj enemy 2. Not. Okay, so now hopefully you'll see this better. So they both really have the same code, right? So now let's take a look. So we'll destroy the airplane, and notice the portal has not appeared. We want, okay, now the portals appear. Now, once I touch this portal, it should take me into the next room, and there I am. Okay, and notice it kept my my information, and now it's level 2. Okay. All right. So now let's say you want to destroy a specific enemy. Let's go back into this code. Let's maximize this. All right, so let's see. So right now, we're just gonna work with this one enemy, and then we'll duplicate it. I don't want to go and make so many changes. So let's make a couple of changes here. Let's type if variable. We'll put it under here, and we'll call this if global dot level is equal to 2. Equal to 2. I want it so that the the airplane has to be destroyed. Okay. So here, let's go to check instance. Check if instance exists, right? If for global level 2, if the airplane is destroyed, then I want the portal to appear. So we'll write portal, portal, portal 770 32. Okay. And we need to do that. You know what? Let's just do that in the next enemy over here. We'll do enemy, make this big, if variable. So again, if variable right under here, if global dot level is equal to 2, then if the airplane is destroyed, is not there, then you can create the portal. Okay, create the portal, objects, no, oops, sorry, portal, 770 32. So now in the first level, let's see. Oh, okay, let's do some adjustments. In the first level, let's add this plane here. And I do have to add a wall to stop him from leaving. All right, okay. Now, the first level, I must destroy all of the enemies in order for the portal to appear. So let's destroy this guy. Boom. Perfect. So now in the second level, I want the portal to appear only if I destroy the airplane. Okay? So that's how you can adjust who you need to destroy, or you can just put all of them in there. You need to destroy all of them in order for the portal to appear. And that's pretty much for the functionality. Let's you can create new rooms, you can duplicate enemies, you can change the colors, you can have the enemies move in different directions. So for example, you can duplicate this enemy, and instead of him moving left and right, you could have him move up and down. Okay, but let's make this game a little nicer. Let's load up some backgrounds, and then we'll finish with that. So let's create a new sprite. We'll call this BR background 1. Let's import, and let's grab a background. Okay, there's our background. Let's go into room number 1, and we need to go into the background layer and select that sprite. Okay, and we want to stretch it. You could either do a horizontal and vertical tile if that's, well, that doesn't look very nice. We could do stretch. Perfect. Okay, and let's put a background here in room number 2. Let's go to background layer. Oh, we need to add that new background. So let's make a new sprite. We'll call it BR background 2. And we will select that background, go into the room, background layer, make sure okay, background, and stretch it. And there you have it. Let's take a look at the game. And cool, it looks a lot nicer. Let's destroy both of these enemies, right? And then let's go to the bridge to the next level. And let's destroy this guy, but that's not enough. We got to kill this guy. Boom. And that's it. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed. We covered a lot of topics here. If you'd like more videos, if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.